Good morning, everyone.
And good afternoon.
Oh, and afternoon, depending on where we are. Welcome to day 2 of our beautiful training. Yesterday was so potent and powerful, and I know I am looking forward to all the beautiful things that unfold for all of us today. So again, my name is Abby Huff, and I'm part of CELT, and I'm going to open our time together with a prayer. In my, just behind me, I have some frankincense burning. I often work with different medicines like frankincense or sage when I'm needing to calm myself down or clear energy or just kind of set more of a sacred and special space for myself and others. So here we go. Gracious and loving Creator, may our shared learnings today bear fruits of liberation, reclamation, and healing. With humble hearts and open minds, we ask that we are blessed with your grace and your favor as we direct our energy towards healing ourselves and witnessing the other heal deep wounds that have kept us from seeing the incredible gifts and bounties you have blessed us with. How has so much scarcity been cultivated when we've been gifted so much? Help us to forgive ourselves for the times and the ways we have done wrong by each other, our planet, and all of Earth's creatures. Let us be humble with hearts and minds open, Creator, as we accept that we have so much to learn, so much to see and understand. We know we have so much to correct in how we have treated each other and our beloved planet, how we've taken so much for granted and have missed many opportunities to do right. Gracious and loving Creator, thank you for this blessed gift of another day to love more fearlessly, to embody the gifts that you have blessed each of us with. Thank you for this day to discover that we are so much more capable of healing, growth, and change than we can imagine. May we show how truly thankful we are for all we have been given through our action and our willingness to do this intergenerational work, leaving a more detailed blueprint and swaths of wisdom to guide the generations to come. Creator, we are grateful for the miracle that our own healing heals our ancestral lines backwards and forwards, as well as those whose lives we impact with our efforts and commitments to live the values we know are reflective of what was intended for us. May we remember how to plant seeds of your light, Creator, and may we remember our own light. Amen. Ashe. Thank you, and I'm going to pass it over to Jason.
Thank you, Abby. Good morning, everyone. I just have to take another deep breath with our prayer. Wow, healing intergenerationally backwards and forwards is work. I feel grateful to have those things called into this space. And opportunities to do right is a really big piece of that. The first thing that I'm going to present today is something about common harmful assumptions. And right now I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully you can all see. Before I dive in, I will note that we have a few deviations from our workbook today. The workbook still has general sections that will match what we're talking about, but some of the activities are different. You can still use the workbook as a place to take notes, and you'll see that on page 7, we have the common harmful assumptions section, which is what I'm going to go into next. But the workbook has a number of standalone activities that we're not going to get to specifically. So I will talk about them a little bit later when we come towards the end of our day. But for now, if it makes sense for you to continue using the workbook for the next activity, page 7 and 8 will work just fine, or you can take notes on your own. So we know that Nuns and Nuns has done a lot of programming already, really diving into systemic racism, systemic injustice and inequity, and trying to hold those things is a lot. You know, it is a process. And I know for myself, just the process of trying to learn about systemic injustice and oppression and then to integrate that into practice is a journey. For this part of this presentation, I'm going to go into 4 specific harmful assumptions that can come up, not only in relation to land transitions, but anchoring in some ways around land transitions. The first assumption: as long as we are moving away from big institutions and instead entrusting land to nonprofits and community land trusts, we are doing justice work. In some ways, this is true, that not relying on enormous institutions is a great way to move forward for justice work, but it doesn't necessarily have the justice of the justice work, because a lot of nonprofits and community land trusts still have predominantly white people in power. And even if those people have good intentions, these individuals commonly reproduce ingrained power structures that continue to deprioritize relinquishing power to people of color. That isn't to say that organizations like this might not be doing good work in other areas, but that step of relinquishing power to people of color is a huge part of justice work. And a question I want to ask everyone to reflect on just for a moment is, would you trust a white-led land trust more than an indigenous collective or a Black-led farming group? Just going to give a little bit of time for people to reflect on that. So hold on to that response if you've just thought about it or written it down. We are moving in the direction of a breakout room to have time to talk about these things. So I'm going to move on to my next common assumption. Number 2, it is acceptable to romanticize Black, Brown, or indigenous cultures as exotic or spiritual. Well, this is a common thing that I know I hear in conversation, especially among white people, of what people will often call cultural appreciation, that it's okay to talk about other cultures as exotic or spiritual because it's appreciating them. But the fact is that is really objectifying of people. The flip side of this is that fascination about other cultures can come across as racist and is rooted in stereotypes. And when we come to the table to conversations with those assumptions about how people are spiritual or exotic or what have you, that is us projecting how people of color should act or how we expect them to be, instead of being present with who they truly are. This one is challenging for a lot of people because they might not have that much direct contact with BIPOC communities. And the things that people who don't have that contact might have in their own experience is still mostly stereotypes because there isn't actual connection. So this is something to really try to sit with and notice if our actions or our words are portraying other people in a certain way, even if we don't know those people well enough to have that assumption. Number 3, it is fair to prioritize people who are organized, who are good at paperwork, who have college degrees, etc. This is a really challenging one because a lot exists in the world promoting academia, promoting the articles and books that get published, that are held in libraries. There's this enormous compelling gravity towards institutions and bureaucracy. And it's a path to try to unlearn those things, because the flip side of that is that being professional does not indicate integrity. For that matter, a lot of tools of professionalism have been developed to exploit people throughout the world in ways that are legal or ways that are still professional or bureaucratic. Another piece of this is that requiring overly complicated applications, for example, for people applying to try to take on land stewardship, is a form of enforcing whiteness. And I know we heard about this yesterday, the experience from some people in our group and in the presentation about what it's like to have whiteness enforced onto people's cultures. And this assumes that everyone is well-versed in the tools and the language of power. And it's very common to have to talk about institutions, to talk about paperwork and bureaucracy as if that is just the way things have to be and the way things are. But we need to reframe that to understand that really those are the tools and the language of power. It's not just the way things are. It is the structures of power that are still there. And my fourth harmful assumption: it is normal for real estate transactions to include intense bargaining and negotiations. This is an interesting assumption to reflect on because, again, this has to do with our dominant structures, our dominant systems. And I've heard from many people who have gone through the purchasing or selling experience saying that it can be demoralizing to everyone involved. And that's a big reason why we want to try to challenge this assumption, because normative real estate is cutthroat and demoralizing and can make people feel measured and judged by their access to wealth, by their skill jumping through legal hoops, and their understanding of our complicated bureaucratic system. And it's a really important thing to really sit with, that those without wealth or who don't have access to wealth because of intergenerational racism and intergenerational systemic racism, those people have substantially less access to hire the legal advocates and lawyers and people to step them through these processes. And that's in and of itself another type of gatekeeping that happens for people in the process. All right, so we are getting ready to jump into some breakout rooms now. I'm excited to visit a room again, and in our breakout room this morning or this afternoon, we want to reflect on these 4 assumptions. And the starting question that everyone is going to sit with, that will get sent out again in the text for the breakout room, is to discuss where one of these assumptions is present in your life or in relation to a land transition. So I'm going to leave these here for a moment in case you feel called to write one of them down.
While that is up, if you are a participant who identifies as BIPOC and you would like to be in a breakout room with just other BIPOC people, please, I'm going to write here, there's my chat. You can private chat me, or you can just drop a star in the group chat, and I will, that's an option, or you can just go as usual. But if you would like to be in a BIPOC specific breakout group, just chat me or drop a star in the chat. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, Brittany. I'm about to stop sharing my screen to do that. Just gonna state that our breakout rooms are 5 people per room. And again, please choose a timekeeper. I put 2 minutes here, but it can be 2 to 3 minutes for each person to talk. We will have about 20 minutes again for this breakout room. So there's a good amount of time to deepen into this and to really try to share your own personal experience that relates to trying to break down at least one of these assumptions. I do encourage people, if you get through one, to move on to another one or see if you can talk about all the ones on the list.